So everybody, we all know now that with President Trump in power, he seems to be serious about dealing with immigrants both coming over the border, but also people that he perceives that are here that maybe shouldn't be here. They aver and they allege that for purposes of deportation or removal, that there's going to be 3 or 4 categories. The so-called top of the category list are criminals. What does he mean by criminals? Well, that would be anyone who's been convicted of anything over and above some minor criminal matter. Even though you may have taken care of the criminal matter, they see you as a potential threat and they may come after you. Even if you're in that situation, you have certain rights, and if you've been here more than 2 years, they should go through the deportation process with an immigration judge. So if in fact you are taken into custody, they shouldn't be able to just put you on a plane. The second category are people with deportation orders who have not left the country. That situation is a little tricky. They can possibly just pick you up and try to remove you. You may even be detained. If you find yourself in that situation and you are picked up, you should contact a lawyer immediately to see if there's some way to reopen your case or keep you here. Another category might be people that are just caught up in this web. You may be driving down the street and you come into contact with immigration. If you were to be stopped and they ask to see your papers, first of all, you don't have to provide them anything. I do think if, say, for example, here in Massachusetts, you were picked up, I might give them my license. You don't want to get into a big fight with them, but you really don't have to say anything. You can ask to see a lawyer. You don't have to provide them with anything. And more than likely, you wouldn't be detained. But if you are detained, it'd be very important to try to reach out to a lawyer. If they were ever to show up at your workplace or your house, you don't have to open the door if they don't have a warrant. If they do come in, you don't have to say much of anything. I frankly think if you had a lawyer, you might say, I want you to talk to my lawyer. If you know, in fact, you have a petition out there, or it's just in status, or you've been in the country a long time. See, here's the deal. If you've been here more than 2 years, at a minimum, unless you have a deportation order, they're supposed to send you to an immigration judge. Once you get to an immigration judge, you may have relief. For example, if you've been here 10 or 15 years, you may have USC children, and you'd be eligible for cancellation of removal. Each case is different, and with that in mind, I think it's very important that people know now their exact immigration status. That's something you can sort out with a lawyer. Just a few categories that are out there I want to go over very briefly. Naturalization. If you're eligible to get citizenship, you should do it now. Because one, if you're a citizen, there's not much, if anything, they can do with you. And 2, we don't know how that landscape might change, and they may try to slow up citizenship. No question, things are going to be more difficult at the border. There's going to be a lot more enforcement. The ability to come into the United States is going to be substantially more difficult. For those of you with DACA and TPS, be sure to keep up your status. That's another area that they may be coming after, so you need to know where you stand. If you're eligible for relief but need a waiver, the I-601A waiver, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, is still out there. And if you have the ability to pursue that relief, you should do it now. For pending cases that are in the immigration court, you need to know exactly where you stand and make sure you have appropriate legal counsel. There's no question that they may increase vetting of various applications, so that's something where you need to make sure you have legal counsel available to you. There may be delays. In the last administration, it also was more difficult to get visas abroad when you were trying to come into the United States. That's a concern too. I wouldn't overly panic. Just continue to live your life. Don't unnecessarily travel, particularly if you're out of status. For example, I think twice about going to Florida unless you had good cause. That seems to be a hotbed of enforcement activity. I think that if you have any questions or issues, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help, and we're setting up our own systems for people that may come into contact with immigration and off business hours. Thank you.